Every night, I unlock 7 sinister secrets in a haunted Wyoming mine. Rules to stay alive exposed. Clara had heard the whispers, the warnings, the horror stories that snaked around town like the chilling wind. Crenshaw Mine was no ordinary mine. It was a dark pit of despair where the shadows of the past breathed. Every night, clinging to hope, she worked at the diner until the late hours, juggling greasy plates and a bubbly 6-year-old's dreams. But tonight was different. Tonight, desperation clawed at her heart as she drove home under the flickering streetlights, the mine's terrible stories echoing in her mind, haunting her. Curiosity gripped her like an icy hand. She parked, her breath hitching as the oppressive silence enveloped her. The entrance loomed before her, an abyss that whispered promises of fortune and riddled her with dread. Clara fought the gnawing feeling urging her to flee, but felt an irresistible pull toward the darkness that had consumed so many. With a shaky breath, she stepped inside, her phone flashlight casting trembling beams against the stone walls. Each step echoed like a funeral toll, swallowed by the heavy, damp air. Shadows danced, making her skin crawl. Something was watching. The once thriving town had become a ghost town, and she could sense the curse breathing down her neck. Then she heard it, an unnerving echo, like mourning wails lingering just beyond the reach of her light. Panic surged through her. Were those voices? She pressed deeper into the mine, the temperature dropping, her heart racing. She tried to rationalize it all. It was just her imagination, the wind playing tricks, but her instincts screamed otherwise. Everything here felt so wrong, so cursed. Stay away, her mind warned, but she couldn't turn back now. Why was she here? For answers? For hope? Her fingers brushed against the damp walls filled with ancient carvings, foreboding images that seemed eerily familiar. Were those family names etched into the stone, her name alongside the victims? The weight of fear bore down her spine. Reality started to fray. This was not just a walk into a mine. It was a descent into darkness. Before she could control it, her phone buzzed violently, the light flickering, cutting through the thick air. A message from Mia. "Hurry home, Mom." The sweet innocence of her daughter sent ice through Clara's veins. A rational voice warned her to leave, but the presence lurking in the shadows demanded she stay. A low growl reverberated, like a chant, and her legs felt stuck, roots burrowing deep into cursed soil. "Get out!" Another voice screamed, not only in her head but within the mine itself, echoing in her skull. The air thickened, suffocating her, pulling her into the murky depths that whispered secrets she never wanted to hear. She took a step back, nearly colliding with the cold stone behind her. The walls seemed alive, vibrating with the sorrow of the souls trapped inside, a collective regret begging for release. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Suddenly, a low hiss slithered through the air, curling around her throat like the promise of doom. The very shadows extended, claws that threatened to pull her deeper into despair. The ground quaked as she turned to escape, shadows clinging, whispering her name. "You can't leave now." Her heart thundered, a final warning resonating through her bones. She was no longer just a waitress. She was entangled in a web of horrors and secrets that tied her family to the mine. The truth clawed at her, begging to pull her under, and Clara knew escaping might cost her more than she had ever been willing to pay. The shadows tightened around Clara as she spun, instinct driving her feet to run. Her heartbeat thudded in her ears, drowning out the whispers that echoed from the walls. Panic surged, electrifying her limbs, forcing her through the tunnel's dark embrace. The phone light flickered again, illuminating fleeting images that clawed at her mind-tormented faces, eyes wide with pain and despair. Were those the souls trapped here, reaching for her? "Help!" she gasped, though no sound answered but the oppressive silence of the mine. She stumbled past the jagged rocks, each sharp edge a reminder of the danger lurking behind her. The growls grew louder, more insistent, a predator stalking its prey. Her thoughts flickered to Mia, the sweet little girl waiting at home. The urgency propelled her forward, but the mine felt alive, breathing down her neck, playing tricks on her senses. Turning a corner, she found herself in a wider cavern, the ceiling soaring high above, dripping water echoing like a metronome. In that moment, the shadows receded slightly, revealing strange inscriptions covering the walls. Ancient symbols spiraled and twisted, forming a warning she couldn't comprehend. A sudden urge to decipher the meanings clutched her. "Stay away," Clara shouted into the void, as if mere words could chase the evil back. Her breath came in ragged gulps, but the air felt heavier, pressing down on her. She moved to grab her phone, wanting to call for help, but her fingers trembled so violently she could barely tap the screen. Her flashlight dimmed, flickering to darkness. The shadows danced around her, mocking. Clara's chest tightened, every breath a gasp. They knew she was here. "I just wanted to help," she whispered, her voice barely a breath. But what could she offer to the lost? Her heart ached for those whose names she had seen on the walls, the families that had come here seeking a dream and found only ruin. Would she become another name, etched into the stone? Another lost soul claiming her? The ground shifted beneath her, a tremor pulsating through the floor. Clara forced herself to step forward, fighting the urge to flee. She reached for the wall, fingertips brushing those cold carvings. There had to be a link, a connection she had yet to uncover. The names were there, their stories tangled with hers. She can't turn back. She couldn't abandon them to the dark. Then, a piercing shriek cut through the cavern, sent chills racing up her spine. It pierced through the shadows, ripping them apart, revealing flickers of movement against the stone. Shadows formed into shapes twisted, ghastly with hollow eyes. They were coming for her, bleached faces contorted in eternal mourning. Their fingers stretched out, beckoning her into their grasp. Clara turned on her heel, pushing against the weight of fear. She ran, heart pounding harder than ever, but the ground trembled beneath her, shifting like a monstrous beast. The walls closed in, the shadows surged forward, hungry, desperate. "Get out," she screamed, her voice breaking as she skidded through the darkness. But outside, safety was just a dream swallowed by the night. In the distance, she could hear the faintest echoes of her daughter's laughter, pulling her back. That sweet sound became her last tether to humanity, the only reason she needed as she dared to leap toward it. The walls shuddered, vibrating with a malevolent pulse. Clara panted, the dark weight thickening, trying to pull her back, but she was not done fighting. The chilling whispers transformed into roars of rage that seemed too close, too familiar. She spotted an opening ahead, a thin glimmer of light peeking through the suffocating shadows. She sprinted toward it, each step a gamble, each heartbeat a race against the dark. "Please let it be a way out," she thought desperately, as she felt the sinister energy closing in. Just as she reached for the light, something cold brushed her shoulder, a hand not of this world. Her scream echoed through the mine, drowning in a twisted chorus of despair. The light grew dim, swallowed by relentless shadows, and Clara screeched as she fell into the darkness, the abyss claiming her. But even in that moment, a thought clawed its way through the chaos. What was waiting for her on the other side? What sinister truths awaited her in the dark? Clara awoke with a jolt, shockwaves reverberating through her body. The darkness pressed all around her, thick and stifling. Every nerve screamed as she struggled to push herself off the cold ground. "Where am I?" It was a question tangled with fear, still echoing in her mind. Her heart raced. She blinked several times, searching the void for anything familiar. The air smelled damp, almost acrid. It was a dampness that felt alive, seeping into her bones. The whispers returned, but this time they were not agonizing shrieks. They were low, persistent murmurs, threading through the dark and clawing at her sanity. "Join us!" a voice hissed, slithering into her thoughts. Clara pressed her palms against her ears, trying to block it out. The noises only grew louder, piquing her dread. She forced herself to breathe, counting the beats of her heart. 1, 2, 3. The faint increase of light in the distance caught her attention. With trembling legs, she pushed off the ground and took a step toward the brightness. But as she moved, the shadows twisted, elongated, and reached for her. Clara froze, the tendrils of darkness inching ever closer. Her instincts flared fear cutting through the haze, but hope flickered in that glow. "Get away from me," she shouted, her voice cracking. But even her words felt swallowed by the void. Those creeping shadows simply pulsed, undeterred, as if mocking her attempts to fight back. The light drew her on, promising safety, but every step felt like a betrayal to the shadows. Her pulse thrummed wildly, and despair knotted in her stomach. Panic ignited a surge of adrenaline, pushing her forward despite the dark whispers lacing through her mind. They were hunting her, and if she didn't escape... As Clara ran, the floor beneath her shifted grotesquely, the texture that of shifting sand, as if the very ground disliked her presence. She stumbled briefly, feeling something pulsing beneath her foot, wet and warm. She glanced down and gasped. It was a small hand, skeletal and gray, reaching from beneath the floor. It pulled back into the darkness instantly, as if it had never been, but the brief encounter sent fear slicing through her throat. What does it want? Was it another lost soul? She tore her gaze away, shaking off the horror. The light danced ahead, growing brighter, and so did the growls behind her. They were louder now, echoing like wolves in a dark forest, relentless and hungry. Panic surged within as she quickened her pace, the tunnel narrowing around her like a snake preparing to strike. As she rounded the bend, the light transformed into an opening, a shaft ascending to the surface, brighter than anything she had witnessed. Clara reached for it, feeling a flicker of hope in the depths of her despair. But just as her fingertips brushed the threshold of brightness, the whispers escalated into frenzied screams, including a familiar voice. "Mom! Mia!" she shouted, desperation igniting her. The illusion of safety flickered. A sound bone-chilling laughter erupted around her, intertwining with her daughter's name. Shadows crashed into her, capturing her in a vice-like grip. Clara screamed, fighting against the grasp pulling her backward, deeper into the darkness. Tears streamed down her face. The laughter danced, taunting her as the glow from the opening barely shone through the thrumming blackness. "You can't save her," the shadows crooned, their voices smooth and insidious. Fear coiling in her belly, Clara couldn't let them win. She fought against the pull, wrestling with her thoughts, her daughter's laughter in her mind battling against the mocking tones. "You have to believe. You can escape." With one final heave, Clara surged forward, propelled by the image of Mia's face, the warmth of her embrace. She launched herself through the brightness, believing fiercely that she could break free. But just as she thought she had escaped, something cold wrapped around her legs, pulling her into the darkness once more, a fate she wouldn't accept. With resolve threading through her desperation, she yanked free of the shadows, and reached for the light, only to find shadows swirling up behind her, forming into something much larger, more menacing. "Leave her alone," a voice echoed, shockingly familiar yet twisted. Clara turned slowly to face it, dread creeping back into her soul. It had begun again, the battle against what lurked in the depths. What awaited her in this dark underworld seemed even more horrific than before. What had she awakened beneath the surface? Clara blinked against the blinding light of the opening. For a fleeting moment, she felt warmth emanating from it, a stark contrast to the chilling shadows that clawed at her. Desperation clawed at her throat. The familiar voice echoed menacingly in her head, distorting her sense of reality. She gathered every ounce of will she had. "Stay back," she screamed, her voice flickering like a flame in a tempest. The darkness snarled, the shadows shifting, swirling in growing anger. They twisted around her legs, icy fingers tightening, threatening to rend her from the fragile sanctuary of light. But that voice, she had to escape. It felt almost impossible, But she would not surrender to the abyss. "Join us," the shadows hissed again, a vile chant that crawled under her skin. "We are waiting, Mom." The echo of Mia's voice pierced through the din, but now it was distant, fading. The desperation washed over her in a wave, heavy and suffocating. Clara could feel the shadows tugging, pulling her toward the dark. "No," she gasped, digging her nails into the earth. But the ground felt soft as if it were made of something living, something hungry, and it shifted with her every movement. She screamed, "I won't let you take me." In that moment, a glimmer of resolve flashed through her. She lunged forward, arms extended to grasp for the light that flickered like hope on the edge of oblivion. Just as she felt herself hanging in the air, the shadows recoiled, letting out a bone-chilling wail. "Traitor!" A sudden, blinding flash enveloped her as she fell, plunging into a realm of light that felt more like an illusion than a salvation. She landed hard on cold stone, gasping for breath, heart hammering violently in her chest. Had she escaped? Was she safe? Clara rolled over, panting, and tried to catch a glimpse of her surroundings. The air around her crackled, thick with foreboding energy. She scanned her environment. Before her stretched a desolate cavern, its jagged walls reflecting shadows in an otherworldly dance. The ground was littered with skeletal remains, a macabre graveyard of past victims. In the silence, she heard whispers again, softer this time, threading through the eerie stillness. "You think you've escaped? You've only just begun to uncover the truth." With every step Clara took, her heart raced faster, fear knotted in her stomach. As she pushed deeper into the cavern, more whispers emerged, distorted, enchanting, promising hidden secrets if she dared to listen. The stones underfoot felt slick, almost like they were alive, pulsing with a heartbeat she could almost decipher. Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught her eye. She turned sharply to see a shadow flit past the corner of her vision. "Mia," she called, voice trembling. No response except the mockery of the shadows enveloping her. She pressed forward against the strain of that ominous laugh echoing deep in the cavern, mingling with her heartbeat. Each step felt heavier as she trod over what seemed to be the remains of dreams lost, souls abandoned. A wall of jagged obsidian loomed ahead, glistening maliciously. Etched into its surface were words ancient and forbidding. Clara felt compelled to touch it, a magnetic pull she couldn't resist. Just as her fingers grazed the cold stone, the whispers crescendoed to a deafening roar. "I won't let you leave. You must embrace the darkness to save her." Her breath caught in her throat as a new realization crashed over her like a tide. Whatever secret lay in this mine was essential, and so was the price. Could she pay it? With renewed clarity, Clara stepped closer. The shadows writhed, orchestrating a web of terror before her. She could sense the presence of something waiting, watching from beyond. The gaunt shape loomed back, its form shifting, taking on the semblance of the familiar. Clara, it beckoned, voice twisting into something hauntingly recognizable. Would she dare to face the truth? Her heart raced as she stood, teetering on the brink of revelation. The time had come to learn the secrets buried within these walls. But the question hung heavy in the air. What would those secrets cost her? Clara's fingers trembled against the cold obsidian, each whisper vibrating through her bones. She pulled back, heart thudding in her chest as the shape shifted again, morphing into the entity she both feared and longed to embrace. Something ancient stirred in the depths of her mind, pushing her toward madness. "Mia?" She spoke, voice barely a whisper. The shadows darkened, coiling tighter around her, feeding off her fear. "Is this what you want?" The shape taunted. "To play the hero? What if I told you the truth could cost you everything?" She hesitated, breath hitching. The deeper she ventured, the heavier the air became, thick with secrets yet to be unearthed. "I don't want to lose you, Mia," she breathed. The darkness shuddered, vibrating with a cacophony of hushed cries, a wailing chorus of souls longing for release. "You already did," the voice taunted, as cold as the stone beneath her feet. "Every choice you make draws you closer to her. You think you can save her while running from your own shadows?" Clara's chest tightened. A bitter truth echoed back in her thoughts. Alone. She had lost so much: her husband, her peace, her identity. Now, she stood facing the very heart of her despair. As she stood wavering, a chill swept over her, unraveling her resolve like delicate thread. Listen, the shadows coiled around her, their breath prickling like ice against her skin. All you need is to embrace it. Accept the truth: this darkness holds the key to saving her. The obsidian wall throbbed with energy, and Clara felt the pull deep in her core. She took a shaky step closer, unable to resist. The words etched into the stone glimmered ominously, ready to expose all their secrets if only she dared to listen. Suddenly, the cavern trembled, a deep roar echoing as reality warped around her. She stumbled, reeling back against the wall. "No, I want tea." The shadows screeched, a cacophony that resonated in her skull. "Foolish girl," came the voice again, sharper now. "You think you can escape? You are part of this darkness. Accept it. Only then will she be safe." Clara shook her head, squeezing her eyes shut, desperate to block out the chaos. Memories flooded her mind: Mia's laughter, her tiny fingers grasping for Clara's hand. A vision of brightness hidden beneath the heavy veil of dread. "Help me, Mom." A voice echoed, sweet, innocent. It slipped through the hysteria, cutting through to her core. She opened her eyes, peering into the depths of the cavern. The shadows pulled back momentarily, revealing a glimpse of a path, a sliver of hope. But was it a mirage, or did it lead to salvation? "Choose, Clara." The gaunt figure loomed closer, its features those of a loved one twisted with malice. "Stay with me, or face the emptiness of truth." Clara hesitated, fear spiraling in her stomach. The whispers twisted, seeping into her mind. Time was running out. Each pulse of the cavern felt like a countdown, threatening to drag her into despair before revealing the truth. Summoning every ounce of courage, she lunged for the path, abandoning caution. But even as she sprinted forward, the shadows surged violently, shrieking her name. "You can't escape. This is where you belong." The ground shifted beneath her, pitching her through a swirl of dark and light, pain and longing. Her heart raced, panic gripping her throat. She could see Mia's shadow ahead, but darkness wrapped around it like a suffocating shroud. "Mom!" The cry echoed, urging Clara forward, drawing her into the maw of shadows. Would love be enough to pierce the veil of this nightmare? The walls trembled with a violent pulse, a foreboding reminder that the darkness demanded its due. Clara felt the shadows clawing back, refusing to let her go. "Face us, Clara. Face your fears. Only then will you find what you seek." The call echoed, a sinister chant promising either salvation or destruction. Clara's feet pounded against the ground, every heartbeat a reminder that whatever lay ahead could change everything. She could already feel the weight of the secrets pressing down on her. As she stumbled through the swirling chaos, one question burned brighter than the rest. What would she sacrifice to truly save her daughter? The answer hovered just out of reach but loomed closer, thrumming in the shadows with the promise of revelation. The darkness bore down heavily, demanding to be unmasked. Would she dare to confront it, or would she remain chained within a cycle of fear? The shadows lunged at Clara as she burst into the narrow corridor beyond the obsidian wall. Stinging cold clawed at her skin, wrapping around her like a serpent. The faint glow of what might be hope flickered in the distance, giving her the tiniest spark to keep running. But the weight of the darkness followed her, gnashing and clawing, whispering, "You can't escape your fate." "Mom!" Mia's voice rippled through the air, a beautiful sound edged with despair. Clara's heart seized, every ounce of her being urging her to close the gap. She sprinted forward, desperate, raw determination coursing through her like wildfire. But the shadows shifted, growing thicker and more malevolent. They curled around her legs, slowing her down as if they sought to drag her back to the abyss. "Face them! Face the truth!" they screamed, their laughter shrill, echoing with centuries of torment. "Leave me alone." Clara's voice rose in defiance, but doubt crept into her mind like frost. What if they were right? What if the truth was worse than the torment of losing Mia? What was she truly capable of sacrificing? The corridor twisted and turned, spiraling into what felt like a nightmare of never-ending darkness. Cold sweat trickled down Clara's back, and her breath came in jagged gasps. Shadows flickered in her peripheral vision, faces twisted in anguish, mouths opened wide in silent screams. They were remnants of those who had come before, unable to break free from their eternal torment. With every step, her pulse quickened, the thud sounding like a war drum in her ears. She staggered to a halt as a small figure emerged from the shadows ahead. "Mom!" Mia's silhouette was golden against the engulfing blackness, small arms reaching out. "Mia!" Clara lunged forward, but just as she thought she could pull her daughter into her arms, the darkness surged violently, morphing into clawed hands that gripped her wrists. "No! Let her go!" Clara screamed, writhing against their grasp, terror flooding her veins. "Please, don't take her away from me." The shadows twisted into a grotesque visage, snarling, "To save her, you must lose everything. What will you give?" Clara's mind raced. "Anything. I'll give anything." The words fell from her lips, frantic and desperate. As she spoke, too late she realized the depths of her pledge. Mia's figure shuddered. Fear dashed across her sweet face. "Mom, don't." And then she faded, swallowed back into the void, leaving behind only the echo of her frightened voice. "No." Clara fell to her knees, raw grief slicing through her like a knife. The shadows cackled, the sound screeching deep within her psyche. "You've sealed her fate. Stop. I'll find you." Clara cried out, pulling against the chains of darkness. But the shadows twisted tighter, burrowing into her mind, feeding her with memories of Mia, wrapped in horror. "Your fear delves deeper," they hissed, wrapping Clara in echoes of loss. "Embrace the feelings you have tried to escape." Drowning in her despair, Clara felt the earth shift beneath her. She could feel her resolve crumbling. It was beginning to blur. The line between mother and monster blurred. What was real? What had she become? Suddenly, a flicker of light pierced the darkness again. This time, it was not Mia's form that beckoned her, but a larger shape, a shimmering portal beyond the shadows. But the dark was alive, writhing like a living thing, sensing her hesitation. "Go, Clara. You must leap into the light." Panic controlled her next move as the shadows closed in, suffocating her thoughts. As they pulled her closer, she felt the weight of choices crushing her down. Would she dare to confront the reality that lay ahead? Was there truly salvation on the other side? What if everything she had ever known was a lie? With one last surge of willpower, Clara lunged toward the portal, the barrier of blackness ripping at her heels. The darkness screeched and clawed, desperate to hold onto its prey, but she was determined to escape. As she crossed the threshold into blinding light, she felt a definitive snap in the fabric of reality behind her. Would the truth of who she truly was follow her through, or would it remain locked among the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike again? Clara stumbled into the light, a hard jolt coursing through her body. Everything felt hot and real, a stark contrast to the cold, biting shadows she'd left behind. The light pulsed around her like a living thing, and for a brief moment, she felt free, untethered. It wasn't until her feet hit the ground that the dread returned. She found herself standing in what seemed to be a vast open space. The air was thick, almost gelatinous, and the light was warm but oppressive. Worn wooden beams stretched overhead, supporting a roof that felt like it might collapse at any second. The flicker of overhead lanterns cast long, dancing shadows, reminiscent of the grotesque forms she had just fled. "Mia!" she called out, her voice quaking, lost in the cavernous expanse. The echoes taunted her, twisting back to her like whip cracks. Just ahead, a figure emerged, this one unclouded by the dark. Clara's heart raced. It was Mia. No, not Mia, but a mirror image. The girl stood at the edge of the light, her eyes bright, glowing with an otherworldly shimmer. "Come, Mom. Follow me." A sweet but almost chilling melody laced her voice. Clara hesitated, a shiver curling down her spine. "Mia, is that you?" "No, it's not." The apparition laughed. The sound bounced off the walls, bright and harsh. "Do you really think you left the dark behind? You must understand what sacrifices you made. What you are. Everything you've brought upon yourself." "Stop." Clara backed away, the floor creaking beneath her feet. "You're not my daughter." The figure laughed again, and something in that laugh made her blood freeze. The image started to shimmer, distorting into a swirling horror, revealing flashes of Clara's past moments where she could have saved Mia but didn't. Betrayals wrapped in self-preservation. Shadows that had always loomed just out of reach. "You let her go. Now it's your turn," the figure taunted, eyes narrowing like slits. "What are you willing to give up next? Your sanity? Your memories? Your very soul?" Clara's chest constricted. "What do you want from me?" "That depends," the figure replied, its lips curling into a predatory grin. "How much pain can you bear? How much truth can you swallow? Unlock the secrets that dwell here or drown in your darkest fears." The ground trembled, and the whispers returned, swelling into a cacophony around her. Clara squeezed her eyes shut, fingers clawing at her temples. They were closing in again, shadows creeping from the corners of the room. They sought to smother her, feeding on her anguish. A tantalizing warmth tugged at her heart, and she thought of Mia, of the sincerity in her smile. She couldn't let fear win again. She couldn't keep running away. "Show me," Clara shouted, her voice a roar against the encroaching darkness. "Show me the truth." The light flickered, and the specter laughed, its malevolence resonating through the air. The shadows responded to her challenge, coiling and thrumming with energy. The room morphed before her eyes, swirling as doors appeared, each one more sinister than the last, locked tight, whispers of what lay beyond pulsing through the wood like a heartbeat. "Every door holds a secret, Clara," the apparition teased. "Dare to unlock them?" Clara's mind screamed in protest. They could hold nightmares, the very essence of her failures. And yet, a wild resolve surged within her. "I will face them." With trembling hands, she reached for the first door, its cold surface sending a tremor through her body. Heart racing, she took a deep breath and grasped the handle. The latch clicked ominously. What darkness waited behind? What secrets would she unearth? She braced herself, the shadows around her whispering conspiratorial truths. Clara turned the handle and the door creaked open. As Clara swung the door open, an icy gust rushed past her, snatching her breath. Darkness spilled out in a thick, cloying wave. The light from her surroundings flickered, desperately trying to hold onto the fabric of reality. But the moment was fleeting. She stepped into the abyss. The air was colder here, stinging her skin. The door slammed shut behind her with a deafening thud, severing her from the warmth of the other side. Panic crashed through her like a tidal wave, but she forced herself to breathe, to focus. This new space was cramped, almost tunnel-like. Walls of damp earth and stone pressed in, their surface glistening as if soaked in sweat. A musty odor filled her nostrils, the scent of decay, of unspoken horrors eternalized in the dark. "Hello?" she whispered, her voice weak in the oppressive silence. It fell flat, swallowed whole by the shadows. No answer, just the soft dripping of water, creating a rhythm that played in time with her racing heart. She took a cautious step forward, feeling the ground underfoot shift. Every movement echoed, bouncing off the walls and mocking her solitude. Suddenly, flashes of light erupted at the far end of the tunnel. Clara's heart lurched. She sprinted towards them, heart throbbing. Perhaps someone else was here. Maybe Mia. What she found was a grotesque sight. An altar, made of jagged stones, loomed before her, a twisted mass of shadows dancing like the flames of a far-off fire. Atop it lay a collection of peculiar objects, broken toys, rusted trinkets, and even fragmented photographs of families long gone. A chilling collection of lost memories. "Do you see it?" That haunting voice crawled back into her mind. "This is what you've discarded. Moments that could have been saved." Clara felt sick. Each item carried the weight of innocence, a memory tied to her past choices. The shadows swirled closer, whispering her failings like a litany. She barely recognized the faces in the photographs. Who were these people? Whose laughter had she forsaken? No, she shouted, backing away from the altar. I've done all I can. I couldn't you could have, echoed that familiar voice, morphing sinister, twisting the knife deeper into her conscience. And yet you chose silence. You chose to forget. The ground trembled under her feet. Clara felt an urge to flee, but there was nowhere to run. Everything was closing in. She gazed around frantically, her eyes landing on a mirror, an unexpected object reflecting the agitated shadows in the glass. A version of herself stared back, a pale, hollow-eyed specter. The mirror showed Clara not just as she was but as she might have been. Joyful, content, a mother. Mia, you need to help me, she choked out, eyes darting back to the scattered items. This isn't a part of me, but the reflection twisted, a mockery of what she failed to embrace. And then it sneered, you abandoned me. You still do. The shadows surged forward in a spectral wave. Clara's breath quickened, her fight-or-flight response igniting. She staggered back, eyes darting for another door, anything to escape this hellish mirror of despair. Then she saw it, a faint glow at the end of the tunnel, piercing the darkness like a beacon of hope. I'll face it, she screamed, no longer retreating. Against all odds, she surged toward it. But as she neared the glow, a heavy weight pinned her to the ground. Like a dark fog, the shadows wrapped around her limbs, dragging her back. The tolling whispers grew louder, each taunt hotter than the last, filling her mind with a cacophony of regret. No, I am not done, she shrieked, fighting against them, against everything she held. She wouldn't be swallowed by this darkness. I will not succumb. With one last burst of strength, Clara tore free, clawing her way towards the light. As she moved, she reached out toward the warm luminescence, desperate to hold on to it. But what would it cost her to reach the end? The light pulsed, flickered. The shadows howled in rage, their whispers merging into a single word that froze the very marrow in her bones. Stay. And with that, Clara stepped through the threshold, bracing for impact. What lay on the other side? Would she find truth? Or was it merely another illusion in this maze of horrors? Blinding light enveloped Clara, tearing at her like sharp fingers. It was bright, overwhelming, like stepping into the eye of a storm. She shielded her eyes, straining to adjust as the world around her transformed. When the glow receded, she found herself in a sprawling cavern, unlike anything she had ever seen. The ceiling arched high above her, jagged and dripping with crystal-like formations. The air was thick, pulsating with an electric energy that reeked of desperation and sorrow. But there was no warmth here, only the echo of her own erratic heartbeat. Clara turned slowly, searching for a sign, a clue. She called out, Mia. Her voice bounced off the stone walls, returning to her twisted and broken. Where are you? Everything felt surreal. Patches of darkness clung to the edges of her vision, whispering threats she couldn't quite comprehend. She stepped forward, the smooth stone cooling against her bare feet, feeling exposed and vulnerable. Suddenly, an eerie echo answered, a low, mournful sound that rose and fell like a lover's lament. The noise made Clara's skin crawl. No, she murmured, dread pooling in her stomach, that an unseen presence loomed, imperceptibly weaving through the shadows. You escaped, but you haven't left yet. The voice was hauntingly familiar, wrapping her in a cocoon of fear and recognition. It was the same voice that had taunted her before, sliding through her mind like ice. Leave me alone, Clara screamed, desperation surging through her limbs. She spun around, every instinct screaming to run. But from the depths of darkness emerged a figure, a silhouette draped in shadows, featureless yet menacing. What do you want from me? Clara cried, stepping back. Her breath quickened, mixing panic with the stale air of the cavern. The figure tilted its head, as if assessing her. Truth or the comfort of lies? It replied, voice a sibilant hiss that sent shivers racing down her spine. What does that mean? The figure took a step forward, the shadows elongating and stretching toward her like grasping hands. You have buried so much, Clara. Are you ready to unearth it? Amid the oppressive weight of despair, she felt another flicker, images more vivid than those before, memories breaking free. A child's laughter, a comforting hug, a fleeting glance at a horizon filled with hope. No, Clara shook her head, clenching her fists. I want to go back. I can't bear it. Then prepare to face what you have run from. With that proclamation, the ground trembled violently. Cracks spiderwebbed through the stone floor, dark tendrils creeping through every fissure. Clara stumbled, but the shadows grabbed her, pulling her into the chasms of the earth. She thrashed against their grip, heart pounding wildly, terror ripping through her like a whirlwind. The shadows were relentless, dragging her closer to the darkness below. She could feel her thoughts fraying, her past threatening to devour her whole. I will not give in, she shouted, harnessing every ounce of her pain into fierce defiance. Yet, in that moment of resolve, she caught a flicker of movement in the corner of her eye. Something shimmered among the rocks, a glint of gold, a promise of safety. It shimmered like a lifeline. She knew it was a risk, but the chance felt impossibly real. Would she reach it? Was it truly salvation or another trap hidden in the wretched depths? As the shadows clawed at her, Clara lunged for the light, desperate to escape the sorrow and confront her demons once and for all. But as her fingertips brushed against the glinting object, the shadows screamed, a cacophony of despair rising to a fever pitch. You can't escape. The grip on her wrenched tighter, and Clara's world spiraled as she grasped whatever lay ahead, not knowing if it would save her or plunge her deeper into darkness. What awaited Clara at the end of her reckless jolt? Would she find the answers she sought, or would it lead her to a fate worse than she ever imagined? Clara's fingers closed around the golden object, its warmth igniting her spirit amid the cold grasp of shadows. The moment she touched it, a surge of energy coursed through her, fierce and electric. The darkness recoiled in horror, shrieking as it attempted to sever its grasp. Clara rose, battered yet emboldened, realizing the truth lay not just in what she faced but in who she chose to become. The object glistened, a locket, intricately crafted, filled with haunting images of her past. She opened it, and there, staring back, were the faces of loved ones lost, memories she couldn't ignore. Each face told a story of choices made and left undone. Tears blurred her vision, but they flowed freely now. Each drop was a release, liberating her heart from its suffocating weight. This is my truth, she shouted into the void, gripping the locket tight. I acknowledge the pain and loss, and I will not let it define me. As she declared it, the shadows shrieked, the noise reverberating off the cavern walls like a violent wind. The faces in the locket seemed to shine brighter, giving her strength. The ground trembled as she stepped forward, fueled by newfound resolve. Mia, she screamed, heart pounding, hands trembling with determination. She could not let the darkness take her daughter. Not now, not ever. The shadows quivered, shifting uneasily as if sensing her fierce defiance. Face your shadows, Clara. The specter hissed from the dark, its presence flickering near the edge. You can't escape this. You owe us. Clara set her jaw. The time for hiding was over. No, she roared, her voice echoing with confidence. I owe nothing to you. I will reclaim what's mine. With the power of the locket burning in her heart, Clara hurled the object into the depths of darkness. It exploded in a burst of light, illuminating the cavern, dispelling shadows, giving a glimpse of their tormented souls' bodies that had once been trapped, grasping for salvation. Each flickering light represented a story intertwined with her own. And then she heard it, Mia's voice, a sweet, melodic echo drifting through the chaos. Mom, I'm here. The sound was like a beacon, cutting through the haze, wrapping around her like a warm embrace, coaxing her forward. Mia, I'm coming. Feet pounding against the stone, Clara sprinted into the brilliance. The shadows writhed, narrowing the corridor as they stretched their arms, desperate to reclaim her. But no longer would Clara be consumed. She charged through, sweat dripping, heart racing, eyes fixed on that shimmer of light where her daughter resided. "Mama!" Mia's voice rang clear, each syllable urging Clara to push past the suffocating shadows. Just ahead, a silhouette beckoned a once familiar form, now drenched in golden light. Clara leaped, fueled by every ounce of love. She had a mother's fierce determination to protect. In that electrifying moment, Clara burst through the wall of darkness, arms open wide. She collided with Mia, the sweet warmth casting away shadows, the light enveloping them both. As they embraced, Clara felt the shadows unraveling, the screams of anguish fading as light reclaimed the cavern. But it wasn't over. The specter howled, furious that its hold was slipping. "You can't just leave. You have to choose either the darkness or the truth." Clara pulled back, cupping Mia's face. "We choose love. Love conquers all," she said, heart swelling, the power of the locket radiating between them. They stood united, refusing to let fear dictate their fates. Light erupted, surging through the shadows, fracturing the dark existence that had sought to bind them. The whispers faded into silence, the claustrophobic walls dissolving, reality shifting. The cavern melted away as the world around them brightened, filling with color and warmth. Clara blinked against the sun, finding herself back at the entrance of Crenshaw Mine, the oppressive weight gone. Mia was there, eyes wide and bright. She rushed to Clara, wrapping tiny arms around her waist. "You came back," she gasped. Relief washed over her as they embraced under the open sky, the air fresh and untainted. "I'll always come back," Clara whispered, choking on tears. The mine stood silent behind them, its dark secrets swallowed by the light. Clara felt the weight of the lost souls lifting, their whispers now a gentle breeze, a reminder in her heart of the lines between light and dark, with Mia beside her. She stepped away from the mine, vowing to share their journey, to transform the pain into purpose. Together, they would celebrate the lives intertwined with theirs, living each day with love and unyielding hope. As they walked home, Clara glanced back. The shadows were still there, waiting, but she knew now how to face them. No longer would they hold power over her. "Mom," Mia chirped, glancing up, her eyes sparkling with innocence. "Can we get ice cream?" "Let us go get ice cream," Clara laughed, their laughter ringing against the crisp air, a promise of brighter tomorrows, the continued strength of their bond. And as they walked into the future, Clara was finally free. Don't let Clara's journey end here. You need to subscribe now for more amazing stories like this one. Smash that like button to fuel this channel and keep the stories flowing. Flood the comments with your thoughts on this epic conclusion. What shocked you? What do you think happens next? Also, share this video with at least 5 friends who need a good thrill. Don't wait even one more second. Only true fans know the importance of showing their support.